In March of 2021, Subverse released as early access on Steam. It quickly set multiple records for our industry. This includes records in sales, wishlisting, as well as having over 25,000 concurrent players. Unfortunately, this fantastic start was quickly marred by criticism about many aspects of the game. Now that we are at the 1.0 release and the official departure from early access, is Subverse good? There are a lot of things that contribute to making a good video game. Its story, its gameplay, developers remembering to make it fun, these are all vitally important. However, when it comes to adult content titles, all of those factors take a backseat to the flavors that a game has. It doesn't matter how good a story may be or how fun a game is, if what you are playing doesn't give you the flavors you enjoy, then you are not going to continue playing it. When Studio Foe announced the launch of Subverse on Kickstarter in 2019, it was easy for people to see that this is a great fit. Foe had already established themselves as an industry-leading studio, focusing on monster and corruption videos. Now we were being offered that same porno pedigree in a sci-fi shoot-'em-up and tactical strategy hybrid. As you progress through the game, you will encounter frenzied space battles and turn-based tactical ground missions. In between combat, you are able to explore your home ship, the Mary Celeste. This is where you can customize characters, create new monsters, upgrade your fighting capability, go on dates, and a whole lot more. And the Mary Celeste is probably one of the best parts of the game. As you fill it with various love interests and monsters, it really starts to feel alive. I wish I could say the same for the space and ground combat. They're not bad. The scripted scenes where you are challenging bosses, raiding bases, dueling bounty hunters, and engaging capital ships can actually be so much fun. However, the majority of these engagements are repetitive and have no real bearing on the story other than the accumulation of resources and experience. You are able to skip all of these after failing 3 times, and you still accumulate your rewards. But if we're talking about skipping gameplay being a positive, that says a lot about if these missions are actually any fun. I think the real problem is that if we draw a Venn diagram of people who like shoot-'em-ups, like turn-based tactical combat, and like the flavors in this game, we are going to have a lot of people feeling left out. So yes, you can skip all of the combat and still max out your affection with each of your romantic partners, and basically play this game as a kinetic novel. Which brings us to the most important question in any adult game: what flavors does Subverse have? So this is primarily a male protagonist harem game, where the female love interests also interact with each other to some degree. The genetically engineered monsters called Mantics also get their turn at bat, but on the whole this is a loyal and loving crew of space revolutionaries who are devoted to the main character. But here's the problem. Each of the love interest has an initial romantic scene called recruitment. They then have no other scene until the conclusion of their devotion quest that unlocks at level 40. So you have this huge gap where the main character is only recruiting new characters and not engaging with any of the old until the literal end of the game. From the plot, it is implied that the love interests are engaging with each other and the Mantics to some degree, but we don't ever see this except in 2 of the devotion scenes at the end of the game. Now, I understand that in many video games with romance, the sex may get skipped. I do not expect that from a game that is marketing itself as a sex game. There is a customizable scene creator called Pandora, where you can unlock a huge number of interactions including solo, with the MC, between female love interests, and involving the Mantics, and occasionally a little bit of everything. I think it's pretty obvious that this is what is supposed to be going on throughout the ship between the recruitment scenes and the devotion quests. But I am also pretty sure the majority of us are looking for some degree of plot in our sexual interactions. That's why we're playing video games, not just using some other media type. There is so much that Subverse does well, so well that it really doesn't seem fair to compare Subverse to other adult games. The main story is engaging and compelling. The UI and exploration mechanic is so beautiful and really reminds me of Mass Effect. The fully voiced characters show a degree of expertise and professionalism that usually only comes with AAA projects, and no other adult title comes anywhere near the level and quality of animations we see throughout this game. Yes, the gameplay can be repetitive and hit or miss, and the side missions are full of unnecessary memes and jokes that are at least a decade old, but the real flaw is in the execution of the flavors. I feel like Studio Foe was afraid that its corruption and monster vibe would scare away too many players, so they stripped out most of what has made Studio Foe so successful and locked it away in a soulless and storyless Pandora. Look, I understand that some kind of sex Lego set may be a cool feature for people, but I expect the people who built a brand out of making crazy, corruptive monster sex scenes to give us a game full of crazy, corruptive monster sex scenes. Don't be afraid of who you are and the flavors you want to explore. And that goes for developers making a game as well. When you are not true to yourself, you're going to make a worse product. And all those people who you were afraid to chase away with your flavors are still not going to play this game. This is the biggest missed opportunity of Subverse. But this is just the 1.0 release. All 1.0 means is that you can play the game from start to finish. That's exactly how Baldur's Gate 3 left early access last year. The reality is that in the video game industry, 1.0 doesn't mean finished. There is more coming, including content already promised in the Kickstarter, as well as language support beyond the current English, and very broken Australian. If Studio Foe can find a way to blend the content in Pandora into a cohesive narrative that fills the gap between the recruitment and devotion scenes, then this game becomes so much closer to realizing the potential that so many of us saw in 2019. Is Subverse good? Yes, but good is not good enough. This should have been the greatest adult game of all time. And what some of the devotion scenes showed me is that it is so close to that greatness if Studio Foe could just be true to itself. Until next time, no shaming, just gaming.